right, welcome back to Grow Bud Yourself. We have a very special guest for you guys this week. He is Jason Hunter, but you probably know him much better as Inspectah Deck from the Wu-Tang Clan and Czarface. Uh, Mr. Hunter, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, definitely appreciate you and your lyricism over the years and all of the incredible music and verses. I mean, just iconic verses with Wu-Tang and with Czarface, and as a solo artist as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Let's get into a little bit about your experiences with cannabis. You grew up on Staten Island. That's kind of where, known for sort of sour diesel being kind of a home of sour diesel. But tell me a little bit about your early experiences with cannabis.
Oh yeah, man. I grew up in a neighborhood called Park Hill on Staten Island, and there used to be this place on the fourth floor of my building where you can, go get these nickel bags, right? Um, the weed wasn't quality, there's a lot of sticks and seeds in it, but it was the best thing that we had growing up. So, I grew up with the experience of smoking the dirt weed first. Um, and eventually we had got some good bud coming around. Like there used to be a skunk weed, chocolate tie stick, and things like that. So that was my early experience to that. And I was definitely in love with the chocolate tie for a while. I notice nowadays you can't even find that, the original. But my earliest memories would be like, oh, we would go to Brooklyn from Staten Island and go get, the chocolate tie, and we would go get the skunk, and then we would mix it together and create this new thing and be like stoned out of our mind. And taking it from there, it wasn't like too much other things to get involved at that time, unless you were going like the cocaine route or something like that. Never was interested in any of that thing. So I've only pretty much been a marijuana user. I'm not a beer drinker, heavy or anything like that. So, it was always fun to me because I thought that you could regulate it. You can gauge where you want to be. That's what I always liked about marijuana. If you felt like, hey, I'm a little bit too spaced out or whatever, you can kind of stop it as opposed to like alcohol. Uh, and growing up at that spot in my building, it was easy access to get things like that. So yeah, that's my earliest experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, um, obviously you guys are traveling all the time. You're kind of in between dates right now. I know you were in South America recently with Wu-Tang Clan and touring with Nas as well on some dates right now. Uh,
Yes.
so where in your travels have you found like the best weed, like the highest quality, best flavor, best aroma?
Yeah, that's a good question, man, because you get different things everywhere you go. So me being fortunate enough to travel around the world, I was able to sample a lot of different styles and types. And, up until recently, I thought like California and Canada had the best. Um, Denver as well, Colorado had some interesting things. But I remember going to High Times Festival in California, and I remember guys over there gave me some bomb stuff. Uh, and then I thought that was the greatest until I went to Canada. And Canada gave me something that was like, oh my God, what is this? Um, Now, recently I went to Vermont. Vermont gave me a strand called Sour Tangy, and I put that up there in my top five right now.
Wow.
It's I like the piney type, the green piney stuff. Um, More sativa guy than an indica, but I do like the hybrids. Um, and like yeah, Maine, Vermont, um, and even Boston, Massachusetts, where it's legal. There's so much out there to choose from. But as I said, I like the nice green piney stuff that kind of hits you like the original Northern Lights and things like that. The White Widow from back in the days. Like I like those nice ones that hit you quick and then fade off.
Yeah, you mentioned this sticks and stems and seeds and all that. Where in the world did you find the worst weed or the lowest quality?
Oh, the lowest. It might have been the stuff I told you that I grew up on, that lived in my building, man. That was some of the most, compared to what we have now, it was some of the most uh, underwhelming stuff that I've had. But if I could say like out in the world, I don't know. Like when you go overseas, the quality kind of drops off. Like I've had stuff in Europe, let's say Germany, Paris, places like that, where it kind of drops off. They're kind of like happy with what they have. I don't know, but for me, it's kind of like a turn off. If it's that bad, I won't bother. Like I'll just say, hey, wait till I get back to the States. But yeah, overseas has some pretty crappy stuff, man. Not everywhere, but a lot of those places they don't have the culture. They don't have the community that surrounds cannabis.
Right, right. Now, tell me a little bit about this project with Coyote Cannabis in Massachusetts. I met you at the Harvest Cup up there a few months
Yeah,
back, and we were talking about this collaboration with Coyote Cannabis on products made with hash rosin. So
yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about that and this unique project?
Yeah, well, cannabis, you see I got the nice cannabis coyote hoodie on. Yeah, it was I met a cannabis lawyer, a great cannabis lawyer by the name of Blake Mensing, and he was representing, a lot of different clients at the time, but he had mentioned, I met him through a family member. He had mentioned that he wanted to get out of the legal side and get more into the business. And he was running some ideas past me, and we were talking to see, well, how could Inspectah Deck and Coyote team up and make something happen? And I'm not normally into like the vape pens and the oils and the the waxes and the things that are out there. But he convinced me to try his Coyote. I believe it was some shatter oil, and man, I tell you, when I hit that, he hit it with me. And the one thing I was impressed with was the quality of it. And he's very big on quality over quantity. And I noticed that in this rap game, even a lot of some of my brothers have their own. My group members have their own strands and things going on, like Method Man, Ghostface. Um, a lot of the market is full of celebrities who endorse these products, mainly for the check. They haven't really tried their product, because some of them are really, really low budget. Um, and Blake, he was like, hey man, I believe in quality over quantity, so here, try this. And I mean, I tell you, when I tried that shatter, the hash rosin, it was for the first time, and I was just like, wow, it gave me like a nice kind of float back feeling. It wasn't too harsh, it wasn't too heavy, and it kind of like came and went. And I like to just stay. I like to be in control. Like you don't want to be so spaced out that you can't function and things like that. So I was able to hit that, and I felt good. And I said, man, this is some good stuff. And he's like, yeah, we cultivate our stuff. We're hands on. We filter out all the impurities, and he goes really far in the process of making that stuff. And once I hit it, I was like, yeah, this is dope. This is good, and I would feel good about putting my name on that product because I know that it hits. And so that's where we kind of came with the idea, like, hey, let's team up. And so I came in as a partner, a small partner in this situation. But I felt good going into it. I feel like the product is really, really good, and we have a lot of ideas coming forward. We wanted to start out with pre rolls, which, I have a Rollie Fingers line. My alias in the group is Rollie Fingers. So, because I like to roll up, like I'm like a hands-on guy. And so, we're going to come with the pre-rolls. We have an idea for some gummies, as well as an actual flower for Rollie Fingers. And, in exchange, I'm going to help push them with the Coyote brand, which is, like I said, I think it's a very good brand and I enjoy the products. And they're going to help me put my foot in the game and, introduce the world to, hey, we got these Rollie Finger products as well. So it's an each one teach one type of thing, but I think it's going to work out really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. People, one of the unique things for me is they do their own cultivation and manufacturing. So it's not white labeling someone else's product. It's all done in-house, single sourced and all that. So you can see that, they're about the quality. And, I think that's important. That's what sets apart the product when it's in a legal atmosphere. So tell me a little bit about, how you feel about, think cannabis becoming more legal in places like Massachusetts and now even in your home, birthplace of New York. It's even legal here now. So, tell me a little bit about, because obviously the people most affected by the drug war were people of color who were being locked up at rates much, much higher than the rate of uh, population.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. I'm one of those people that had some marijuana charges back in the days. Fortunately, I wasn't a grower or had any huge amounts, but it's just something that stains your record. And, they made it to be, they villainized it back then. Nowadays, it's good to see that, hey, we're lowering the drawbridge on this stuff. Um, I don't think that it's as harsh as people make it out to be. I don't believe it's the gateway drug or things like that. I believe it's something that you are in control of. And I think the more people legalize and the more people that get on board with the game will realize that, hey, it actually is helping your economy. It's helping, your city. It's helping your state or whatever the case. And I'm hoping that Texas joins on board too, so we can have a few things going on out here as well as Boston. I have a few offers for New York and California and things like that. So I'm trying to spread my wings, little by little, slowly by surely, and get involved in all these states that are in full swing with it. And I think the more people let the guard down, you'll see. And then, I believe that it's medical properties as well, the CBD aspect of cannabis and all these things that are helping people. I believe that those are very beneficial. And if you allow your city or your state to become involved, I believe you'll help a lot of people as well. You know, um, I have family members that use cannabis for arthritis, for their eyesight, for different things, the medical use. Um, and I think the more people let their guards down, it's only gonna get better. You know.
Yeah, it's interesting because even in your line in Cream about smoking cess, and basically that's the time when you're not depressed. I mean, that's talking about medical marijuana, even back, in the 90s, when it wasn't really even a thing as far as, it being legal in California or any of that. You were already kind of on top of the understanding that cannabis can help with things like depression or anxiety and things.
Yeah.
So you never really shied away from it. And like, to me, that's interesting that that line, uh and obviously many others, um and also
Yeah.
talking about like the fear and the paranoia of you know being a target for law enforcement, handcuffed in back of the bus and all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
it just rings really true to your experiences as far as you yourself being a victim of the drug war and the mass incarceration rates and all of that.
Yeah, and it's crazy, yeah, because you look at it now and say, hey, they decriminalized it, and a lot of people were free now. But to experience that in the beginning, like you said, when it wasn't a thing, it was like you were a villain, you know, if you smoked and things like that. And for me, yeah, I went through the depressed phase, I went through the anxiety phase, and what I noticed is that, yeah, if I smoke a little cannabis, get a nice little blunt or something, or a nice little joint, I was able to be calm and settle down and actually think. I don't know if that's backwards. Some people smoke it and get paranoid and oh my God. Like for me, I was able to, kind of sit back, and now I'm starting to think like, hey, let me do this, let me do that. It kind of gave me a little equilibrium. Even to this day, I don't smoke as much as I used to, but when I do, I like to smoke something good. I like to be I don't like to be so much out and about with it, out in public. But if I'm in a nice, cozy place or private place among friends and things like that, I'm more of that guy now, as opposed to when you're young, you don't care, you're smoking it everywhere, you're trying to hide it and smuggle it in places and stuff. But nowadays it's a more of a free feeling. I went to Alaska. I believe Alaska is completely legal. I went to maybe like a speakeasy or one of these type of centers where everyone is able to come in from all walks of life, and there were doctors, there were firemen, there were police, there were all types of people who just enjoy cannabis, and it was tight for me because when you come in there, you have your strain, I have my strain, and we're like, hey, what do you got? Oh, I got this, such and such Kush. Oh, I got this strawberry this. And so, oh, hey, well, try this, and I'll try that. And you're able to swap, and, and it's like a meet and greet type of thing where you meet all these interesting people. And I got to try, hemp soda. I got some clothing made out of cannabis, all this interesting stuff where it goes beyond just smoking cannabis or being able to just light something up and smoke. If cannabis is used in so many different areas, I found it, I want to go back. Like that's how interesting it was. Like, just, hey, I'm smoking a blunt with Alaska's top doctor. I'm here with this fireman, and it's just like, hey, he likes the Kush. This one likes the indica, and we're swapping and we're trading, and they've got cookies and cupcakes and all types of edibles and different things. So I would love to have those type of scenarios here, in the States, whether it's New York, Massachusetts, Texas, doesn't matter. Those social consumption type of places. And I believe that that's going to help too. Like once they lower the gates on this stuff, they'll notice how it'll bring a lot more people together.
Yeah, I mean, your colleague Raekwon recently was in the process of trying to open a consumption lounge in New Jersey, and then into some issues with the local government there. But I know he has that going on, I believe, in Oregon as well. So that's interesting. But I also want to shine a light on Czarface, the project that you have. That's something I think people need to definitely check out, and has a more of a laid back kind of vibe than I would say than the Wu stuff, a little bit of a stonery kind of skatery vibe for me at least. That's what I grew up listening to hip hop, but also skateboarding and being involved in like the graffiti and kind of all these subcultures that were created by kids, basically. Punk rock and hip hop, they're all basically youth movements. So I think that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about Czarface.
You hit it on the head. Like, yeah, Wu-Tang is such a hardcore group. It's nine of us, and we all come from different hard parts and hard walks of life. And so the music represents that. Czarface is definitely more of the skateboarder, stoner, laid back, graffiti, classic, the purists. It's more for the purists who are not so much into labels or the commercialism of everything. It allowed us to take, Saturday morning cartoons, the stuff we grew up off of, the Kung Fu theater. And it's really just a mesh of a lot of pop culture as well, wrapped up in one. Czarface allows me to have a little more fun with the music than Wu-Tang does. Wu-Tang is such a serious group, it's all about, oh, your sword, your Wu-Tang sword player, and your tongue is a sword. And Czarface, I get to say, catch me slow dancing with Scarlett Johansson. It's more fun, and it brings more people in, I think. And I have a situation in Massachusetts now with a company called Resonate that we're working with to bring out a Czarface strand. So, everything in moderation. We're doing things one step at a time as well. And for me, I'm just learning the business. So, I got my feet in the pool first before I dive in head first. And, Czarface gonna start out with their line, Rollie Fingers is gonna have his line. So, eventually hopefully it leads to more, more situations like that and bigger situations. But yeah, man, that's the skateboard stoner, purist, like everything under the hardcore hip hop, all of those subgenres, we kind of meshed those in one to make this Czarface thing. And and it kind of was supposed to be that. Like we took Marvel's theme of the artwork and thing like that for our album covers. And because we all grew up with comic books, 7L and Esoteric, myself. And so yeah, we wanted to take everything that we grew up with and all the fun stuff out of being a kid and bringing it back for the adults who still love it. So, like I said, it's more fun and it's more inclusive. And, that's why I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently finished season 3 of Wu-Tang: An American Saga, which was just released in the last couple months or so. And you can see through these sort of mini movies that as Wu-Tang develops and you guys form as a group and then achieve your success, and you can see that cannabis obviously plays a pretty major role, especially like you mentioned with like Method Man in particular. But what role does cannabis play in your creative process? Like, whether do you ever smoke before writing lyrics, or is that something you prefer to do sober, or both?
Yeah, sometimes it's both. It depends on the environment I'm in. Like when I'm home in an environment like this, I tend to just zone out and just go in my writing process without the cannabis. Sometimes I may step outside, sit in the car and blast some tunes in the car and, smoke my little kush or whatever in the car. And then in a studio environment, it's a little different. Sometimes I have people around me. Sometimes I'm in there by myself, but I tend to, when I'm in the studio, I tend to have my cannabis with me. Doesn't matter. And those times, I don't want like the strongest stuff. Those will be the times where, like, yeah, I'll hit the hybrids and things like that. Things that don't just pow and then you're like put you to sleep. I don't like the sleep weed. Like the ones that just like you smoke and the next thing you know you can't even fight it. Like your eyes are heavy. Um, Indica tends to do that to me more than anything else. That's why I like the sativas mostly. But yeah, going in the studio, man, it helps you because I don't know. For me, like when I smoke cannabis, it makes me think of things that I wouldn't have thought of had I been straight, been sober. So I can smoke some cannabis and I'll go in there and say, you know, uh, I'll think of a movie and then I'm thinking like, oh, how could I put that movie into a rhyme? Like to say something like The Terminator or, I'll think of something like that and, come with me if you want to live. I'll throw that in the line and build a story around that. Or, it'll be a scene that I saw like The Adjustment Bureau where he wasn't supposed to get off that bus to talk to that girl, Matt Damon, because now that threw his life off. So I take things like that and I say, hey, well, if you follow this path and you don't do what you were originally intended to do, then your life can get thrown off too. And I try to relate those things through the music to the listeners. When the listeners listening, they're not just hearing me being braggadocious about random things or you know things of grandeur. They'll hear me say something and they could apply it to themselves. That's what I wanted to be more known for in my lyrics, to say, hey, you know, when you hear Inspectah Deck, you have to listen to him. He makes you think. You go back and rewind, or you go back and play it back, and you go, oh wow, that's what he meant. That's what he was saying by that. You know, I say that we're all in the same game, just different levels, dealing with the same hell, just different devils. You know, and I get things like that when I hit the blunt, man. Like if I tried to think of that right now, it wouldn't even come to me. You know, so yeah, it definitely plays a big part in the creative process. And even like you said in the series, you know, going to Riz's house and meeting up with Ghostface and Raekwon and Method Man, and Meth would always have some powerful stuff on him. You know, that I'm, you know, being next to Meth, I watch. He's like a weed magnet. He doesn't have to ask for anything. People just throw things at him. He's just like, oh my God, I got all of this stuff. So here, guys, boom, throw it on the table, and you know, you take your pick. And you know, it's just that it was definitely part of all of those classic albums, you know.
Absolutely. Now, what are your plans for the future as far as musically and also, with the collabs with cannabis brands and companies?
Yeah, well, starting with Coyote. Coyote is like kind of my blueprint for all of the deals and situations that I want to do, because I have such an interesting collaboration with Blake. Like I said, Blake started out as a Wu-Tang fan. Um, and then he sprung the idea of the cannabis on me. So, you know, we have a relationship that I think goes past just a business type of thing. So I said, you know, this is going to be the blueprint, and he's even offered to help structure those deals for me with other companies. So, you know, I think I found that to be amazing, because most people don't do that. But you know, he's actually willing to help myself and my business partner get our feet, you know, into the game. And you know, the resonate with cannabis, the company in Boston, with Czarface. I mean, you know, we're trying to get Czarface a couple of strands as well, just to keep growing and expanding. You know, I could say now that you know I just won a couple of situations, but we can talk a year or two from now, and it's like, hey, you know, I done made all of these moves, and you know, we've got Starface coming out, and like you said, Oregon, or we got, you know, another Rollie Fingers coming out, the California deal or the Denver side. So you know, these are all people, and you know, the people that Method Man, he has a strand, his own brand called Tikal. Um, his people are helping me as well, you know, find different situations and bring different deals to the table. And you know, I just find like, you know, whatever comes that makes sense, you know, we're gonna try to get as far as we can. You know, I have a company, Ninth Chamber Hunter Brown Holdings, that is designed for these type of things. And you know, the sky, well, I won't say the sky's the limit, but you know, we're aiming for the sky, and we're hoping that we can continue on into the future. And you never know, Inspectah Deck may retire from Wu-Tang and be like Tommy Chong, you know, be like a cannabis advocate, you know, for the rest of my days. But you know, for the most part, you know, I enjoy it. You know, everything in moderation, of course. And you know, we're just trying to expand on this from where we're taking it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show and telling us more about this collaboration. People should keep an eye out for the new products, gummies, flour, pre-rolls, all, also made with solventless hash rosin, which I think is really interesting, unique, important, and also the future, because there's really no need at this point to use solvents when you're making these products, when you can make such an incredible product without
Right.
them. If you want to find out more, go to inspectahdeck .world. You can follow him on Instagram. It's underscore Tagrams because he's the
Yeah.
Rebel INS. You can also follow on Twitter. Coyote Cannabis is at coyotecannabisco.com,
Yeah.
as well as Coyote Canna on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for the years of entertainment and everything that you've accomplished, and also for uh, getting into cannabis and having that be part of your story.
Yes, man. I appreciate you guys having me. And as I said, like quality over quantity, man. Hopefully you guys enjoy this stuff and look forward coming soon. As you said, Coyote Cannabis, Inspectah Deck, Rollie Fingers, and also the Czarface strand under Resonate.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on the show, and a pleasure. And we will keep an eye out for these products and make sure that people know when everything drops. And thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys.
Take care. We will be back with more Grow Bud Yourself.